Let's see. I can cut out the parts I want to. So, take one. Welcome to the Evergreen Health Forum, sponsored by EvergreenHealth. My name is Mark Newman, and I'm the program manager for NAMI Eastside. Our topic tonight is on gratitude and mental health, and I'm proud to introduce our speaker. Richard Taylor Jr. has created an impact over the past decade as a leader and mental health advocate for people around the world. His story of overcoming morbid obesity, depression, multiple suicide attempts, failing in college, and domestic abuse strikes chord for students and professionals alike. Richard is a graduate of Northern Illinois University with a BA in Corporate and Organizational Communication and the founder of TaylorMade Empowerment. He's an author of 7 books and podcast host. His message breaks cultural boundaries and challenges biased social norms. Richard's goal is to create safe spaces for difficult conversations and encourage empathy in a society that is clouded with apathy and foster transformation to mental wellness. Richard is also a board member for NAMI Eastside. Thanks for being here, Richard.
Hey, Mark. Thanks so much for having me. Can you hear me?
Yep. I'm here loud and clear.
Okay, great. Am I coming through clearly? It was chopped up a little bit as you were reading through, so I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Well, man, thanks so much for having me. It's good to be here. I am so excited because Christmas time is here. Maybe it's just me. I've had my tree up since the middle of October, and so I am finding joy in the holiday season very early. And it's good to be here as we get ready to move into the holiday season. And I love this conversation that we're going to be having around, being able to, find some sense of power within gratitude for our mental wellness and our health and everything else. Mark, you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. Well, it froze up a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and get started real quick. I just want to give a warm welcome to everybody who is tuning in to our conversation and say thank you so much for being here. Thank you to NAMI Eastside. Thank you to EvergreenHealth. This is a really exciting time. So I am going to go ahead and get ready to jump into the conversation in a second. Just for those of you all, if we haven't gotten a chance to meet, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to listen in tonight. My name is Richard Taylor Jr. As Mark mentioned, I get the opportunity to serve as one of the board of director members here for NAMI Eastside. I am a full-time speaker, author, and consultant working under the umbrella of my company, TaylorMade Empowerment. The goal behind a lot of my work is to be able to not only simplify the conversation of mental and emotional health, but to get individuals mobilized when it comes to their mental health, finding hope and allowing that hope to bridge over into seeking out the help that they not only need, but deserve, so that they can be able to go out and live their life to the fullest. And so that is a bit of my work. I also run a podcast titled Between the Dream. It's available everywhere podcasts can be heard. As Mark stated, I've done a ton of work on this side as an author of 7 books, the latest one, 31 Days of Power, A Simplified Approach to Everyday Mental Health. I'm going to tap into that one tonight for a brief stint of our conversation. But briefly, for me, the work that I do in this space, and even me being here tonight, it is all inspired by just my own personal upbringing and experience. Born and raised in Chicago, Illinois. I've only been here in Washington State for the last almost 6 years now. And so for me growing up, I dealt with a host of issues from the age of 10 to 20. Because of bullying, at the age of 10, I started dealing with anxiety and depression. And after one particular event with my bullies, I went home that day and I was frustrated, and I ended up having my first experience with self-mutilation, which then quickly evolved over into suicide attempts as I grew up. So from the age of 10 to 20, that was a big portion of my life. High school wasn't as bad from an external standpoint, because the very thing that I was bullied for during that time frame, which was my weight, wasn't an issue anymore. I shot up in height, slimmed out, became a standout athlete in the sport of football, was slated to go to college to play, had offers galore from around the country. Unfortunately, my senior year, I ended up taking a hit on the field that led to some discoveries within my body around my heart and having this condition. And so having this heart condition essentially had every scholarship pulled away from me. During that time frame, it put me in a position to where the depression that I had felt, the suicidal attempts that I had, the ideations around it, they expanded like immensely, right? And so in this, I started to question my life's purpose. I thought that football was all I'd ever have. And in this, I found myself now getting ready to go into college, dealing with imposter syndrome, feeling like I didn't belong, like I didn't deserve, and like I didn't have a purpose. And the next 18 months of my life, from August of 2006 to January of 2008, spiraled out of control in that span of almost 18 months. During that time frame, I gained 170 pounds. So I went from 200 pounds to 370 pounds. I was failing in school for 3 consecutive semesters with a 1.4, 1.5, and 1.6 GPA. So by the time I got to the 3rd semester, I was receiving a letter from my school's retention office letting me know that I would be academically dismissed by the end of that semester if I did not have my stuff together. And so in this, I found myself struggling to really keep it together. And then because of where I was, when it just came to being a massive people pleaser and seeking validation, I ended up getting into a romantic relationship where I became the victim of domestic abuse. And so all of this kind of came to a head on January 21st of 2008, which was that year Dr. King's birthday was celebrated on that particular day. Had a bunch of situations go on during that time. And it essentially led me to my final suicide attempt, where I took a blade down my wrist with the word love now sits on my arm. This is my transformation. This was my lowest. And in this, I had an individual who became my first mentor, who found me at that low place and provided resources and opportunities that gave me a chance to really start to seek out not only the help that I needed for my mental health, but also to help me stay in school. 3.5 years later, I was able to graduate and stay in school, but also get the help that I need when it came to my mental and my physical and everything that I was going through and experiencing during that time. And so the work for me carries a different level of weight because of those experiences and being able to overcome, but then also too, now being able to be in a position to where I can help others who might be finding themselves in a struggle or going through. And I believe that's important, right? I remember how I felt when I was alone, and understanding that there are so many others who feel the same way. And when we talk about our mental and our emotional, when we talk about the spaces that we're in, I think it's important for us to realize the power of community that does exist when it comes to what we possess that could be helpful for someone else. And so a little bit about myself there. I want to go ahead and actually jump directly into our conversation for tonight, right? Thank you so much to Barbie and Mark for reaching out, asking me to come and present on this. We are having what I think is going to be a dynamic convo tonight as we get ready to navigate into the holiday season, right? And maybe you are not an individual like myself who finds an amount of joy in that, right? Or maybe you're nervous or fearful, or, you know, we all carry different levels of experiences as we are moving into this space. Definitely with this being the first full year that we're going to be in a position to where we are going to have the holiday season. And maybe for the first time, if you're like me, this is your first opportunity to be back around family in a full type of atmosphere for the first 2 or so years. Maybe you are the person who you also have gone through some loss and experienced an immense amount of grief, and specifically during holiday seasons in the past, and it's put a feeling inside of you that doesn't allow you to necessarily embrace and enjoy it because you look at it differently. You carry a different level of experience with that. And it can be hard for us to find gratitude in these moments. But I want to be able to give us some tools and resources tonight that I think could be beneficial when it comes to where we are and where we're headed, right? So tonight, we're going to talk about the power of gratitude for our mental health, right? And I want to make sure that I'm very clear. I don't like coming from this conversation, this topic, from a euphoric standpoint or from a cheesy standpoint. You know, this is coming from somebody that loves all of the cheesiness of the holiday Hallmark movies and Hallmark movies in general. Like, give me the cheese and we can make a pizza. But I don't want to come from this space as cheesy tonight or, as gimmicky. I think that when we talk about gratitude, it's very easy a lot of times for people to hop on a microphone or get on a stage and talk about gratitude from this space of being able to just be happy, right? No, I think that we can. I think that we can find a space where we are grateful and we carry a different perspective. But at the same time, I don't want us to be oblivious to the fact that life is life. And as life is life, what we tend to find happen a lot of times is that depending on where life is right now or in the moment for us and what it's throwing at us, it can be hard to find gratitude. But I do believe that there is a healthy balance and space that we can do it to where it's not cheesy and where it is beneficial and it can actually help us. So with that being said, I don't want to belabor. I want to go ahead and jump right into this conversation. The first thing I want to encourage us to do is to shift the lens, right? I had this thought as I was preparing for our conversation, and it was simply this. What if gratitude is the key to a better mindset when we are met with opposition and negative feelings that can shift our thoughts, our approach, and our future? More specifically, how we choose to approach our future as we begin to move forward into said future, right? A lot of times it's very easy for us to look at gratitude. And like I said, we all sit on different levels of the spectrum when it comes to this. For some of us, gratitude is an easier practice. But for some of us, if we're honest, it's hard to really move and function in a space of gratitude because of our experiences, right? Or for some of us, it might seem cheesy. And I just want to let you know that it's not. I had this thought, what if gratitude in its fullness, in its totality, what if it is the key to a better mindset when we have these moments of oppositions? What if in the spaces where we are dealing with life and every circumstance and thing that life has thrown at us, what if in those moments gratitude existed in our hearts and it was, if for nothing else, a component that helped to bring balance in a space where negative feelings, negative thoughts, and negative approaches could pull us downward and go into a spiral that could lead to greater issues, traumas, experiences, unnecessary experiences later on in life. So I want to encourage us to shift our lens and how we perceive gratitude, how we look at it, how we maybe have even been taught about it growing up, and what are some things that we can begin to look at when it comes to changing that outlook to have a position or a viewpoint that says that this is something of a benefit, not just something that we talk about. So with that being said, I told you that I was going to jump briefly into my latest book. First chapter from the 31 Days of Power talks about this idea that we all have a mental health. I love to start my conversations off like this. I like to utilize it as a space to just even the playing field. So as we have this conversation tonight around gratitude and mental health and wellness, I want us to remember that we all have a mental health, right? And with that mental health, I think the easiest way to break this down is by simply saying that, the same way that we all have a physical, we have a mental. What happens when we're not investing into our physical? Maybe not right away, but over an extended period of time, what we can tend to find is that we will be in positions to where if we're not taking care of our physical health, ailments can arise, issues can arise, right? Actual things that could start to cause our body to shut down could arise. It's the same way with our mental. And so my only push with this is that I want to encourage us with our mental health to let's start learning to be proactive rather than reactive, right? So instead of waiting for something to go bad or to go wrong, can we stick to the side of proactivity that allows us an opportunity and a chance to be able to greater ward off and fight off different things that could come and attack our mental because we've been in a preparation phase, right? I love to start our conversations off like this too, because I believe it evens the playing field, maybe for some of us that struggle to actually see the mental and emotional struggles of others, right? And I think with this, the one thing that I would encourage is that if COVID has not taught us anything else over the last 2 years, is that given the right circumstance, given the right situation, and given our level of vulnerability at the right time or at that current time to where we are, we could find ourselves struggling mentally and emotionally. And so in this, I don't want us to look at one person's struggle with gratitude or finding hope or life or whatever it might be as less than, and us putting our mouths on it saying what we would do if we were in that situation when we're not. We all have a mental health, and given the state of our mental and emotional health during that time frame, we can sometimes be susceptible to doing things completely out of character. But there's no judgment with this. I just simply want to say, can we take the time to take a step back and to see others through a lens that maybe we haven't before? And maybe for some of us to see ourselves through that same lens and give ourselves a space of grace that says that even though I haven't been the best when it has come to taking care of my mental, I have an opportunity to learn how to be proactive rather than reactive now. So being mentally tough is not enough. This is the first point that I really want to give us when it comes to our conversation around wellness. And I brought this up because I thought this was important for a lot of the work that I've been doing recently with collegiate and professional levels to athletes. A lot of times in sports, we were always taught to tough it out. We were taught this concept of mental toughness. But one of the things that I noticed very early on was that toughness only works for the field and the moment that it's in. But here's the truth. Toughness helps us to push past a certain thing or to sweep it under the rug when that is not necessarily what we need. When we talk about being able to find gratitude, we can't be mentally tough all the time, trying to go through and expect ourselves to be able to embrace and embody gratitude within ourselves. And this is where I want to encourage us to take a wellness approach. Wellness allows us to dive in. Mental toughness is cool when we in the moment and we've got to push past, because it is a literal like blink of an eye moment. But when the dust settles and the smoke clears, we still have to be able to come back to said experience. And sometimes, a lot of times, I would say, toughness is not going to be enough for us to be able to analyze, right? To dissect that experience. This is where wellness, this is where the wellness approach comes in. This is where the conversation and the practice of self-care comes in. This is where the conversation and the practice of therapy comes in. This is where the power of community comes in to help us in moments where we cannot tough this out on our own, but we need actual resources that will increase the wellness aspect within us. So I got a few slides here that I want to bring and pose to you, and it's simply going to come from this question: why gratitude? How is it that gratitude could be beneficial for my mental wellness? How is it that I can take an approach to gratitude and it's somehow going to change my mindset? Well, outside of the psychology and the scientific aspect of it, I want to give you some very practical things that I think could really help to shift our perspective. And that is actually our first point. Gratitude itself is a phenomenal perspective shifter. It gives us an opportunity to see things from a different light. I remember just 2 months ago when we were still in our late summer and the weather was warmer, I'm a runner. I picked up running during COVID. And I remember finishing up a 5-mile run, getting ready to head back home. And I was dog tired this day. The weather was phenomenal, but I pound my body into the ground 6 days a week with workouts. And so this was just one of those days where I'm literally at 4.5 miles. I don't have that much to go, but I have a straight shot uphill. And as I'm going uphill, I end up stopping at the local neighborhood coffee shop to grab some water. And while I'm in there, of course, me being the people person that I am, extroverted Richard has to say hi to all his people inside. As I was coming back out and I'm stretching just a little bit to keep myself warm to head back up the hill, I noticed a stroller with 2 children in it moving. But at the time, all it looked like was a stroller with 2 children in it moving. From there, as the stroller got closer, I noticed that there was a man pushing it, but you couldn't see him until he was almost at the same level and pace. And that is because this gentleman was an amputee on both legs, pushing the stroller with one arm and wheeling himself with the other. And this really touched me because of the fact that I realized in that moment as he was passing me, this was a father with his 2 baby children. And he's trying to get a form of exercise in while also taking care of his kids and giving them an activity in the moment. And I couldn't help but to think to myself during this time when I saw it, just how grateful I was because of the fact that, and this is no knock, but I'm thinking to myself, like, as tired as I'm complaining to myself and being, and as much huffing and puffing as I'm doing, I'm watching this man on my exact same route, and he is moving forward with the task at hand, despite everything that we would look at and say it's against him. And it got me to thinking about myself. And I asked the question, well, Richard, what's your excuse? What are you complaining about? And this isn't one of those things where we compare our traumas or we compare our situations, but I do believe that there is a healthy space where you can sometimes look at people's situations and gain some perspective from reflection. And so in this, I believe that gratitude is a phenomenal perspective shifter because it gives you an opportunity in that moment to see something or someone else for lack of better words, who has it worse off than you do. And I don't think that that's saying much when it comes to the fact that it's not taking away from your experience, but it's simply to say that none of us are alone. When it comes to challenges and trials and tribulations, none of us are alone. But in this, some of us do have it to where they would love to be in the shoes that we're in. And I can guarantee you, if some of us were in theirs, it'd be a lot more difficult for us. So why am I bringing this up? Because I believe that in moments like this, as I watch that man move his two young children up the hill, it put me into a mental space where I said, Richard, life could be so much worse. And you have this opportunity and you're wasting it. And you see this man who's given everything that he's got with less than you. So what if gratitude can help to shift our perspective? Simply to say that we're not alone in our struggles, but in our struggles, can we take the time to realize that our struggles could be worse? And in this, carrying a spirit and an attitude of gratitude with what we do possess and what we do have can allow us to better appreciate what we have in that space. The next thought that I want to leave with you all is that gratitude has the potential to enhance our empathy in moments where our experiences cause us to build up walls or build a wall. And what do I mean by build a wall? For many of us, when I talk about the building the wall, our negative experiences can sometimes put us in this position to where we do not give gratitude a chance because of the fact that our unmet expectations or our hurt and our pain, our experiences, our trauma, our grief, we have walled ourselves off with all of those different things. And in that, gratitude struggles to get past because the wall of each one of those things that we've experienced have been blocking it the entire time. But what happens though, if in kind of like the situation with the gentleman that I just mentioned, that us being able to take the time to allow our walls to be taken down and embracing gratitude, it gives us an opportunity to learn how to empathize. And as we empathize, we're not just empathizing from the space of being able to have gratitude within ourselves, but we're empathizing from the space of being able to allow a continual flow of gratitude, but then also to be able to have that same gratitude that can be shared and spread onto others within their experiences that can lead to a life-altering moment for them the way that it does for us. So I want us to take the time to pay attention to the walls that we've allowed to be built up in our hearts and in our minds because of the things that we've experienced. And in those moments where we are intentionally trying to ward off gratitude, what if we gave it an opportunity and it can open our heart to empathize? It can open our heart, maybe not even to empathize to another person, but specifically empathize towards ourselves. showing grace to ourselves, showing love to ourselves, showing ourselves that we deserve the same kind of love and attention and care and hope that we want to bring out to others. The next component that I want to give us is that gratitude shifts us into a happier and more optimistic space, right? And we're flowing right down the line with this, right? I know for me, as I saw that gentleman running with his kids and wheeling with his children, in that moment, I was so happy for him because of the fact that I'm like, man, like he hasn't allowed his position and his experience to cause him to not go out and do something greater. And that put a smile on my face. But it also made me optimistic about where I am in my own life and my situations. The moments where I complained about how I wish my physical looked a little better, how I wish I could have looked like Dwayne Johnson by now. I wish that I could have done all of these different things. But what it did do was make me optimistic when it came to what I possessed, what I actually have in my possession, and made me more optimistic to the fact that, man, like there are people out here who have so many different short ends of the sticks or setbacks, and they're still doing it. And it makes me optimistic for the reality or the thought of what I could do and what I could help others to do and inspire others to do as well. I think the next component that I want to give us is that gratitude is important because it reduces our stress and allows for better sleep. I know for many of us, right, when we lack gratitude, right, whether it be from the stressors of life, the grief that we deal with, the experiences that we have, the stress at work, whatever it might be, in those moments and times where we're losing sleep and we're full of stress, many of us, if we're honest with ourselves and to each other, we're normally not thinking about gratitude in that moment. We're thinking about the problem. We're thinking about the issue. We're thinking about the situation, right? Let's be real. And when we do this, we're not allowing any kind of space at all for gratitude to exist. And so I just want to encourage us with this thought of shifting that today, shifting over into this space of how can I start to deal with the stress? Well, one way that we can do it is through those moments of practicing gratitude, through those moments of being able to reflect, through those moments of being able to take an inventory check of what we currently have and where we are or how far we've come, right? And in this, realizing that that testament to how far we've come is actually a testament also to what it is that we will continue to overcome, specifically in the realms of what is adding stress on to us. So I want to encourage us to embrace gratitude and the practices thereof, because it gives us this beautiful opportunity to start reducing that stress, to start allowing ourselves an opportunity to breathe and gain some mental clarity so that we can rest well and be ready for the life ahead of us. And then as we get ready to close this out here, I want us to remember that gratitude allows us an opportunity to rest in reflection. And when I say rest in reflection, I don't mean just like a one-time ordeal. When I say rest in reflection, I literally mean that our practices in gratitude, they help our mental and emotional health because of the fact that they give us an opportunity to stay within this wheelhouse where we're always reflecting when necessary. We're always open-minded to the perspectives around us, to the things that we can't see beyond our stressors, beyond our traumas, beyond our experiences, beyond the list of things that we've got to get done before 2022 is over, right? When we get an opportunity to practice our gratitude, what it does is it allows us to reflect. And through that reflection, we are always at a space where we can stay even keel. We don't have to allow anxious thinking or intrusive thoughts to get the best of us, but we can stay and reflect, and we can gain a new perspective from said reflection. Finally, I want to leave you all with this one thought. As we talk about being able to embrace gratitude for our mental health and wellness, I think that it's important for us to be honest and transparent. I believe that there is an immense amount of power in our honesty and our transparency. And this works in two different ways. This works when it comes to honesty and transparency within ourselves, when it comes to being real about the fact that for some of us, we struggle showing gratitude, practicing it, believing in it, I think we need to be honest about that and understand that this is a judgment-free zone. And so in that, as we take the time to be honest with ourselves, let's not beat ourselves up, but let's start to get to the nitty-gritty of why that is. Why am I struggling to be honest about the fact that I struggle to embrace gratitude, that I refuse to embrace gratitude? Because we're all on different levels. But then secondly, too, I want to encourage us in the realm of gratitude to be honest and transparent with the people that we have in our lives, those closest to us, that one friend, whoever it might be. I think it's important for us to take the time to be honest and transparent with them as well, because I believe that community is a great benefactor to being able to help us to live a grateful life. And as we live a grateful life within community, we always have a voice of reason that will help us when the voice of stress hits, when the voice of doubt hits, when all of these other voices come and they try and stop us or hinder us and pull us back from the areas that we deserve to be in, the great areas, the positive areas. We have community around us that can help us, but they can help us because of the fact that we took the time to be honest and transparent. I want to leave you all with this final page, just a little bit of my information. And as we close, I want to just say this. I know that we're getting ready to move into the holiday season. We've got Thanksgiving next week, and it's full-blown Christmas right after that, right? And I know that we're all coming from different experiences within our lives, past and present. I think it's important for us to remember, though, that we are a living testimony when it comes to the fact of what we've been able to experience and overcome. I think about this a lot when I look at myself and all of the suicide attempts that I was able to overcome in my younger days. But even for some of us, when it comes to different things that could have taken us out or that could have caused us to make a different decision, a decision that we typically wouldn't, that could have led to a detriment. I think that in those moments, if you ever struggle to find anything to be grateful for, can you take the time to look back and reflect on those moments? Those moments where you thought you weren't going to make it. Those moments where it seemed like you were getting the entire kitchen sink thrown at you. Can you look at those moments and realize that your life is a testament to why gratitude is necessary? Because of the fact that you've seen some things, you've lived through some things, you've experienced some things, but most importantly, you've overcome some things. And because your life matters and because your story matters, that is more than enough of a reason for us to be able to take a moment to be grateful and to allow that gratitude that we have to extend into areas of our lives that we need it in the most. Family, you are not losing in life. You are not failing. You are simply between the dream. What is between the dream? It's not only the title of my podcast that you see down here, it's actually the title of my second book as well. Between the Dream is the way of life. The way that I like to present this to people is that between the dream is very simple. It's the point between your present moment and your promise. I like to call that area in between the process. Between the dream is the process. I'm a firm believer that when we embrace our process, we embrace our progress. And as we embrace our progress, we can walk into every promise, purpose, and plan meant for our lives. So as we get ready to move through this season and as we prep for 2023, I want us to be reminded that in the spirit of gratitude, we are not losing in life. We are not failing. We are simply between the dream. EvergreenHealth family and NAMI Eastside family, thank you all so much for your time. And I hope you have an amazing end of your year in 2022. Mark, it's all yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Richard. That was amazing. As always, we really appreciate you here. And thank you, everyone who joined us.